It's precisely 6:15. This is the news on Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. News is edited by Anjana Dodamgoda, read by Sabrina Zawahir. The headlines. The President says the government is planning to end debt restructuring process by the month of September. Committed to support Sri Lanka's economic reforms, IMF chief tells President Ranil. State Minister of Finance says the government has taken steps to provide necessary steps on public welfare. The Attorney General gives undertaking to court not to arrest former AG Dapula Livera. Public Security Minister calls for strict action to curb violent crimes. And in world news, Beijing soars above 41 degrees Celsius, smashes June record. And in sports, Under-19 Sri Lanka Youth League to kick off on 28th June. Now the local news in detail. The President Ranil Wickremesinghe says the government is planning to end debt restructuring process by the month of September. President further noted that the government is working closely with the Parliament to derive a broad strategic plan to address the issues the country is facing today. Debt's restructuring process is given priority. The President has given much focus on structural reforms. This was revealed at a meeting with former Canadian Prime Minister Stephen Harper in London. In replying to the concerns raised by the former Minister of Canada, he further elaborated the plans with IMF. Maintaining a proper trade deficit between the imports and exports is expected. The Managing Director of the International Monetary Fund, Kristalina Georgieva, has assured the institution's commitment towards supporting Sri Lanka's economic reforms. Following her meeting with President Ranil Wickremesinghe, Georgieva assured the IMF is committed to supporting the island nation's economic reforms in a bid to improve the living standards of Sri Lankans. President Wickremesinghe arrived in Paris yesterday on the invitation of his French counterpart Emmanuel Macron to address the World Leaders Summit for a new global financing pact which endeavours to garner cross-regional consensus among the international community to build a more inclusive, a more equitable international financial architecture with strong deliverables. A joining debate on President's address to the nation was held at the Parliament today. MP Tissata Nayaka joining the debate said without preventing the corruption and malpractices, no plan can be implemented. Country cannot be developed by imposing heavy tax on general public. He further said that the government has no specific plans to increase the foreign reserves. Opposition leader Sajith Premadasa joining the debate said the economy is getting downsized. The government must support the entrepreneurs to enable economic development. Levels of poverty have gone up. Not only small-scale businesses but large-scale businesses have also collapsed today. Even though decision to get the assistance from the IMF is commendable, the agreements that have been signed are unfavorable to the country. Participating in the debate, State Minister Ranjit Simbalapitiya said the opposition did not accept the challenge at the decisive point to restore the normalcy and today merely engaged in criticizing the government. Opposition is trying to mislead the country by spreading unnecessary rumors on restructuring of local debts. Not only the industries, but the livelihood of the general public is affected. The government has taken steps to provide necessary welfare for the poor. Minister Simbalapitiya further said foreign remittance had been increased, bank interest rate is also reduced. This news is brought to you by Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. Continuing local news. The Attorney General today gave an undertaking to the court that former AG Dapula de Vera will not be arrested over his controversial statements on the 2019 Easter Sunday terror attacks. Accordingly, Additional Solicitor General Parinder Ranasinghe, on behalf of AG Sanjay Rajaratnam, today assured the court that the former AG will not be arrested regarding a statement he had previously made on the 2019 attacks when a petition filed by the former AG Livera was taken up before the court this morning. De Livera was summoned before the Terrorist Investigation Division on numerous occasions in order to record a statement on his controversial statement pertaining to an alleged coup behind the Easter Sunday attacks. The former AG filed a petition on 24th April, highlighting that the police are not authorized to question his actions during his tenure as the AG, adding that such treatment violated his privileges as an Attorney General. Special cabinet approval has been received to include the Japanese language into the academic curriculum of Sri Lankan schools. Speaking in Parliament today, Minister of Foreign Employment and Labour, Manusha Nanayakkara, stated that the decision has been taken with the objective of grooming future migrant workers, targeting employment opportunities in Japan. Minister Nanayakkara stated that thereby measures are being taken together with the Education Ministry to include the Japanese language as a subject from grade 6 at schools. The minister further briefed the Parliament on the various measures taken with regard to foreign employment, including the launching of a program to start a pool of 5,000 Japanese language trainees targeting the Japanese market. That ends local news.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
Instructions have been issued to the Inspector General of Police and other senior police officers to take immediate and stern legal action against violent crimes committed in both the western and southern provinces. The relevant directives was issued by Public Security Minister Tiran Alice during a special discussion with high-ranking police officers that took place yesterday. Accordingly, Alice ordered that expedited action is to be taken against those involved in murders and other violent crimes in the western and southern provinces, while highlighting that there is no one else will be allowed to exert undue influence over such operations as per the confirmation received by President Ranil Wickremesinghe. That was main news.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
Moving on to Watchlight. Private bus operators on the Kottava-Borella 174 and Kottava-Mount Lavinia 225 routes have called off their strike action today. The private buses operating on the two routes had withdrawn from passenger transport services as a result of the strike launched by the bus operators on Monday. The strike action had commenced in protest over the decision to deploy 10 luxury buses covering the two said routes. The private bus operators alleged that the luxury buses in question had been deployed without informing the relevant private bus associations. However, they claimed that they decided to end the strike action temporarily since no solution was received for their issue. That came to you in Watchlight. Moving on to world news. Taking a look at the headlines of the world news. Beijing soars above 41 degrees Celsius, smashes June record. Biden, Modi to strengthen ties with defense trade agreements. 31 dead after gas explosion at barbecue restaurant in China. Now the world news in detail. The temperature in Beijing breached 41 degrees Celsius on Thursday and shattered the record for the hottest day in June as heat waves that had seared northern China a week earlier returned to the Chinese capital. A weather station in the southern suburbs considered to be Beijing's main gauge recorded 41.1 Celsius in the evening today, according to the official Beijing Daily. The previous June high was logged on June 10, 1961, when the mercury hit 40.6 Celsius. In Beijing's northeast, the temperature pushed even higher to 41.8 Celsius, helping the small township clinch the title of the hottest spot in China today. Beijing has raised an orange alert, the second most severe weather warning, saying temperatures could be as high as 39 Celsius from Thursday to Saturday. U.S. President Joe Biden aims to herald the start of a stronger U.S.-Indian relationship today by announcing a series of defense and trade agreements with Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi as Washington attempts to counter China's global influence. Biden is rolling out the red carpet for Modi, treating him to a colorful White House South Lawn arrival ceremony on Thursday morning, followed by Oval Office talks and a glittering state dinner in the evening. The two leaders held a private, intimate dinner at the White House on Wednesday night. At least 31 people are dead and 7 injured in the Chinese city of Incheon in northwest Ningxia region after a gas explosion at a barbecue restaurant Wednesday night, according to state media. The explosion was caused by a leak of a liquefied gas tank inside the restaurant and took place around 8:40 p.m., according to state broadcaster CCTV. Among the 7 injured, 1 person is still in critical condition. The other 6 are being treated in the hospital for minor injuries, burns and glass cuts. That ends World News. Prior to concluding, the headlines of the World News once again. Beijing soars above 41 degrees Celsius, smashes June record. Biden, Modi to strengthen ties with defense, trade agreements. 31 dead after gas explosion at barbecue restaurant in China. That ends World News.
Development News is brought to you by
Vacancies for women from Deshakti Lanka for housemaids in Kuwait, Oman and Saudi Arabia for ages 23 to 58 years. Contact number 037 7500 500.
Power and Energy Minister Kanchana Wijesekara has said India's Petronet has made a liquefied natural gas proposal to power around 600 megawatts of thermal plants in the country outside of a long-term generation plan. Minister Wijesekara said in a Twitter message, while a long-term plan for LNG will be finalized, options for short-term solution to reduce the cost of generation in the next 24 months from the 600 megawatt to LNG power plants available will be pursued. Sri Lanka's power system has several combined cycle power plants which can potentially be operated with LNG with modifications. That was Development News.
Vacancies for women from Deshakti Lanka for housekeepers, home cooks, caretakers and home nurses in Kuwait, Oman, Saudi Arabia and Singapore for ages 23 to 57 years. Salaries starting from 156,000 rupees. Interviews with foreign agents are now on. Come whether you have a passport or not. Branches, Colombo, Kurunagala, Anuradhapura and Matara. Contact number 037 7500 500.
Moving on to sports news, a goal candy clash will kick off of the Under-19 Sri Lanka Youth League 2023 on the 28th June at Pallekele International Cricket Stadium. 5 teams, Colombo South, Colombo North, Galle, Kandy and Dambulla, will participate in this competition, which will be played from 28th June to 5th July. 2 renowned international venues, Pallekele and Askiria, will host the 11 matches, including the final. Each team will get to play 4 matches during the preliminary round, and the top 2 teams will qualify for the final, which will be held on the 5th July at Pallekele. That was Sports News.
Go ekak thiyana youth eකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු හීන හැබැයි කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන friendship එක මෙන්න.
The all-new NSB Ithru Mithru account, NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
The Commercial Bank of Ceylon recently commemorated 20 years of remittance operations in Qatar with a celebratory event hosted for the management and employees of exchange houses, the bank's premier customers and other stakeholders in this Arabian Peninsula state. The milestone event held at the Al Wadi Hotel Doha M Gallery was graced by His Excellency Mohammad Mafaz Mohideen, the Sri Lankan ambassador to Qatar, as the chief guest. The event commenced with a welcome address by Mr. Pradeep Bandhuansa, Assistant General Manager, Digital Banking of Commercial Bank. Providing valuable insights, the keynote address was delivered by Mr. S. Prabhagas, the bank's Chief Operating Officer. That was Business News.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Go එකක් තියන youth එකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු හින හැබැයි කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන friendship එක මෙන්න.
The all-new NSB Ithru account, NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
Moving on to economic news, Sri Lanka's tea production grew 1.9% to 26.5 million kilograms in May 2023 from a year ago. Industry data showed, with all elevations seeing increased output in the second quarter of the year. Orthodox high-grown teas were up 9.5% to 7 million kilos. Medium-grown tea were up 0.4% to 4.8 million kilos, and low-green tea were down 0.9% to 14.7 million kilos. Data from Ceylon tea brokers showed CTC tea production grew to 2.5 million kilos in March 2023 from 2.4 million last year. Green tea production picked up to 248,211 kilos from 148.9 million last year. In the first quarter, production was down 7.2% to 58.52 million kilos. That was economic news.
Weather report.
Finally, we take a look at the weather report. Several spells of showers will occur in western and Sabaragamuwa provinces and in Kandy, Nuwara, Galle and Mathura districts. A few showers will occur in northern and northwestern provinces. Showers or thunder showers may occur at a few places in Uva province and in Ampara and Batticaloa districts during the evening or night. Fairly strong winds, about 40 to 45 kilometers per hour, can be expected at times in western slopes of the Central Hills, northern and north-central province, and in Puttalam, Hambantota and Trincomalee districts. That was the weather report. Prior to concluding this bulletin of news, the headlines once again. The President says the government is planning to end debt restructuring process by the month of September. Committed to support Sri Lanka's economic reforms, IMF chief tells President. State Minister of Finance says the government has taken steps to provide necessary steps on public welfare. The Attorney General gives undertaking to court not to arrest former AG Dapla Livera. Public Security Minister calls for strict action to curb violent crimes. With that, we conclude the news.